What's good, guys? So this is part two for creating an obby. We're going to be going over player data. So I'm going to make a script in server script service. And first things first, we're going to get the data store service. So game get service, data store service. Then we're going to get player data store game, or no, not game, data store service. Get data store, player data store. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to just get the players, because we're going to have to use that player service. So game, I'm tripping it now, equals game get service players. All right, and now we're going to create two functions. So we're going to create a player added function, and then we're going to create a player removing function. All right, and then we're going to create our bindings for these. So players dot player added, or player service actually, dot player added connect player added player service dot player removing connect player removing. All right. And now what we're going to do is going to create a table for this, for our player data, to keep track of our player data throughout the game. Now you'd want to create a module for this, okay? But the reason why is because this is what we're going to be using to manipulate and manipulate the data throughout the game, like while the player's in the game. That's what we're going to be using this right here. And so now we're going to set up a pcall function. So success data equals pcall function, and we're going to say return player data store get async player dot user ID. All right, and so what a pcall function does is it makes it to where if this fails, it's not going to break our scripts or break the game. It's going to fail, and the scripts are still going to be able to continue and not be interrupted. And so yeah, we're going to say if not success. So if this function right here doesn't work, success is going to be equal to false. So saying if not success is the same thing as saying if success is equal to false. So we're going to say if not success, then warn was not able to run get async. We're just going to do that, and then we're going to do an else. And so this else is basically if it is successful. Okay, so if success is equal to true. So what we're going to do here is if data, because if success is equal to true, all right, then this function, whatever this function gets, okay, the value that it brings back to us, so which should be our player data for the specific, should be our data for the specific player, then that is going to be this data variable. So we're going to say if data is equal to nil, then because, which means basically this function worked, the function was a success, but the specific player doesn't have any data yet. So if data is equal to nil, I'm going to say player data, player equals a new table, else, so that means that data wasn't nil and we actually got some data back. We're going to say player data, player equals data. All right, and we can add a print here at the bottom just so you can see. We're going to print player data. Now we have to do a pcall and player removing. So success error equals pcall function, and we're going to say return. Well, we don't really need to do a return. We're just going to player data set async, and we're going to say we need to pass in two things. So the player user ID, and then we need to pass in the data actually. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say local data equals player data player index. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to say if not success, then warn error. And then what we're going to do is player data player is equal to nil. So why we're doing this, and I'm just going to add a print in real quick. Why we're doing this, why we're doing the equal to nil bit for our player data table. Let's say that you have a server and 1,000 players have visited that server, but there's only 8 players currently in that server, okay? So what's going to happen is if we don't set it to nil, well now we're going to have a player data table filled with 1,000 different players' data, which is just completely unnecessary if there's only 8 players currently in the game. So that's why we set this player data player index to nil. All right. So this looks about right. I'm just going to play this real quick to see what little was not able to run get async. So here's why we were not able to run get async is because you need to first off save the game. So we're going to go to game settings right here, save to Roblox, data test, data testing, team create off. I don't need that. And now we've saved it, so we're going to go back to game settings. We're going to go to security. We're going to go right here, enable studio access to API services. And now we're going to press play. And as you can see, we have our blank data right here. This is the player instance. And yeah, now we're going to leave. And now it's seen there's nothing in the table, which means our player data is equal to nil. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you that this is working. We're going to add in a random value. So maybe it would be like has Game Pass equals true. So now what we're going to do is press play. And we see has Game Pass is equal to true. We're going to stop. And we're going to remove this. And so what's going to happen is now we don't have that being added. So if it's still added in our script, then it's still going to, then it means that it's working, right? Oh, so there you go. We have it. Has Game Pass is equal to true. So it did save. And yeah, we were able to save our data properly. And so that's pretty much it for player data. Now for leader stats, you can add in leader stats and then you can go in and save all those. You can add those values into a table and whatever. But leader stats is for if you want to have that little like that leader stats bar right here. If you want certain values to be shared with the server, that's what leader stats is going to be for. And that's why you would do that. But this is how you don't need leader stats, obviously, right? So this is how, and you can also create your own leader stats as well. And so this is basically how you would start doing that. And like I said, you would want this to be a module so that you could keep track and access that data through multiple scripts. Now, one thing to note is that if you're trying to access from a local script, then you're going to want to create a remote function so the players cannot exploit that data. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.